Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We are learning Mishna Bava Kamma, Perikei, Chapter 5, Mishnah Alf, Mishnah 1. Today's Mishnah day of learning has been donated by Barry Steinberg in memory of his uncle,
Dov ben
Moshe, Burton Pop Morovitz. Hashem Hashem Aliyah.
Thank you.
Okay. So now we have a story like this. Shar Shanaka Chasapara. An ox gored a cow. This cow was pregnant. V'nimtza ubara bisida. And then we go ahead, we look at the dead animal, the dead cow, and we find her fetus right next to on her side. Okay, so we have this cow. We know the cow was pregnant. We saw people from afar saw the ox gore the cow. There's no question about if the ox gored the cow. No question about that. But when they saw what happened, all they could see was that the ox gored the cow. And then later, when they got closer and they saw what happened, they now see the fetus of the cow next to the dead cow. The dead fetus next to the dead cow. The ein yadu, and it's not known, if it gave birth before it was gored, or gave birth after it was gored. Now, if it gave birth before it was gored, then that means that the animal had a miscarriage and had nothing to do with the animal that gored it. But if it gave birth after it was gored, then that means that the goring of the animal caused the miscarriage, caused this fetus, caused this miscarriage, and therefore the owner of the animal is not only liable for the cow, he's also liable for the fetus because he caused the death of the fetus. So that's the subject. That's the question. We don't know what happened. We don't know if this animal, basically, one second. We don't know if the animal gave birth or miscarried, whatever it was, before the goring, and therefore the goring animal has no responsibility towards it, or did it happen after? And there is responsibility. So therefore, what's the end of the day? What do we do here? Half damage is paid for the cow, for the cow. We're talking about here the animal that did the goring was a tam. So the owner of that cow is going to pay chatzi nezek lepara, half of the damage for the cow, revia nezek levalad, and a quarter nezek for the child, for the fetus. So what we're having here is we have a suffix, we have a doubt, we have a question. And because we have a question, we're saying like this. About the cow, we have no question. Mm-hmm. And therefore, the owner of the animal that did the goring is liable to pay half damage for the cow. We don't know, though, if the owner of the goring animal has to pay half the damage for the fetus or not. And because we don't know, what do we say? You have to pay only a quarter. That means we divide. We don't know, are you obligated to half nezek or not? And because we have a suffix, what do we say? We split it. You're going to pay quarter of nezek for the cow, for the blood, for the fetus, and the other chatzi nezek, the other half of the half damage, you're not going to pay because there's a suffix. We don't know. Are you liable for the fetus or not? And therefore, what do? You pay half of what would have to have been paid if you knew clearly that the fetus died because of the goring animal. Now, it's important to know that to understand that this Mishnah that says that you're paying a quarter of the damage for the fetus is following the opinion of Sumchas. We had this before. Sumchas have the opinion that Mammon Amutal B'Safek, if you have money that there's a doubt about, you divide it between the people who the doubt involves. So in this case, because we don't know, is the owner of the goring ox responsible for the death of the fetus or not? So what do? You split it. And instead of paying half the damage, which would have been the payment if you know for sure was responsible, it'll pay half of that half, which is a quarter. However, we don't follow that opinion. The opinion we follow is you want to take money from someone, you want to extract money from someone, the burden of proof is on you. So in this case, the owner of the fetus wants to make the person who owed the goring animal pay him. There's a subject, there's a doubt whether he has to pay him for this fetus or not. And since he is the one trying to take money away since the owner of the fetus trying to take money away from the owner of the goring ox, the burden of proof is on the owner of the fetus. And therefore, until he brings proof, the owner of the ox doesn't have to pay anything. Okay, now that's the first case. So the first case was, you're talking about an ox gored a pregnant cow. Now the case is going to flip. The pregnant cow gored the ox. Different case. The pregnant cow gored the ox. Now, okay, meaning it damaged it, right? It intentionally tried to damage it and killed it. If you have a cow, again, the cow is a tam, right? That's important to know for this case of the Mishnah. The goring cow is a tam. This goring cow we know it was pregnant, and it went ahead and it gored the shor, it gored an ox. Now, after the story is over, meaning after the goring took place, we now find that the child of the goring cow is at its side, meaning it gave birth. And now the question is, as now the Mishnah continues, ve'en yadu, and it's not known, if it gave birth before it gored, or it gave birth after it gored. Now, what's the question here? The question here is like this. The question is that if the animal, if the cow, when it gored the ox, was pregnant when it gored, then we see the act of goring happening from both the mother and the child inside. Okay? And if the animal already gave birth to this animal before it gored, then we say the goring was only done by the cow and not by the child. Okay? So now, what's going to be the halacha here? Half damage is paid from the cow, and a quarter of the damage from the child. Now, what this means is like this. We have to understand, we're talking about, like we said, a tam. The goring cow was a tam. When a tam gores, how much damage do you pay? Chatzi nezek, half damage. Where does that chatzi nezek payment come from? It comes from the body of the animal that did the goring. That's something we had before. It doesn't come out of your pocket. It comes out of the animal that did the goring. And as a matter of fact, if the animal that did the goring isn't worth half the damage that it caused, that's too bad on the person who got damaged. Yeah. That's the halacha by a tam. By a tam, the halacha is, the law is, the payment comes from the body of the cow itself. Now, in this case, the cow, we know for sure gored. That's not the question. The mother did the goring. And therefore, if the mother is around, you could go ahead and take the chatzi nezek damage from the body of that animal, right? If, let's say, the whole animal, the mother's whole worth is the half damage that it did to the ox, then you take the mother. You take the mother as is. That's what you do. You take the mother. If that mother is worth more, then you sell her and you take from her value, you pay the half damage. Okay, theoretically, you could take your half damage if the child was still in the mother when the animal did the goring, which means we consider that the child also did the goring. You could take your half damage from the child. You could do that too, because it also did the goring and it's also a tam. And therefore, let's say you had a case where the mother disappeared, the mother ran off. We don't know where she is, but the vlad is still around. And we were to know that the vlad was in the mother when the damage took place, when the mother did the goring. Then you could take the payment of damage for half nezek from the child. Basically, you've got a choice in that situation. Now, typically, you'd probably want to take from the mother. The mother has more value than this child, especially if it's dead. But if, let's say, the mother's not around for payment, you could take the payment out of the child. The only thing is, though, we don't know was the child in the mother or not when the goring took place. We're still left with that doubt. And therefore, what comes out is like this. The Mishnah said, you pay half nezek from the cow. That means if the cow's around and you want to get the payment of the half nezek from the mother, fine. But if the mother's not around, and now you want to get the payment from the vlad, you want to take the payment, you want to get the payment from the child because that's all you got. Well, guess what?
No.
you're not going to be able to get the full half nezek. You're only going to be able to get a quarter of the nezek. Because since we have a doubt, we don't know whether this child did the goring, is considered to have done the goring or not. We don't know. Maybe yeah, maybe not. So again, it's yachloika. You divide. It's a doubt. You divide. Divide's going to mean that you're not going to get half payment from the child. You'll only be able to get a quarter. And that's what the Mishnah means when it says that half is paid from the cow and a quarter from the child. So here again, if the cow is available, the victim can collect his entire half damage payment from it. But if the cow is not available, for example, it ran away, and so the victim has to collect his payment from the body of the calf, he can take only half of that payment, a quarter of the damage, because we don't know, did he do damage or not. And at the end of the day, according to the halacha, this part of the Mishnah is following Sumchas, that says that when money is in doubt, you split. But if you hold, if you want to take money out from a person, the burden of proof is on you. So here, you want to go ahead and say the mother's not around, so the guy who got damaged wants to say, okay, I'm going to take payment, or at least even quarter payment, I'm going to take some payment from the child. But we don't even know if the child did the goring. So you, the one who got damaged, want to take payment from the child, but there's a subject, there's a doubt whether you can even take the payment from the child or not. That's a meitzah mechaber levaraya. You want to take money, the burden of proof is on you. And therefore, without proof, you wouldn't be able to take anything from the child. Have a wonderful day.